Hey guys, it's CS Joseph with csjoseph.life, obviously. So we are continuing on with what we are doing in our Patreon private lectures, and that is the golden pairs. Awesome. What are the golden pairs? The golden pairs are specifically where we match up certain types to see how compatible they are, but this is the highest compatible type such that you'll be able to determine, if this is the kind of relationship that you want. And let me tell you folks, it is the dopest, and you definitely want these kinds of golden pair relationships. Just understand that there is some risks as well as there are rewards with the golden pair relationship, because remember, as the golden pair, it is highest compatibility. This is highest sexual compatibility, highest emotional compatibility, all wrapped up together in one little bow package just for you to enjoy. And as a result of that, you have the ability to have literally the best possible relationship of your entire life laid out before you, and you can have that like awesomeness. The thing is though, a couple things about the golden pair that you need to be aware of. Remember, statistically, people when they get married, they likely marry their third highest social compatibility. If you don't know what that is, go to season 12, okay? Go to season 12. They marry their third highest social compatibility because that's like the safe choice, basically. The golden pair, it's actually pretty dangerous. It's actually a pretty dangerous approach. The reason why is because when you're in a golden pair with someone, all of the cards are on the table. You are completely exposed to the other person as much as they are completely exposed to you. You guys could read each other like a book, right? And due to that exposure, there's really nothing to hide. So you better get all your secrets out right off the bat, because if you don't, it's going to make it for a very turbulent relationship, if you know what I mean. And this relationship, ladies and gentlemen, the high risk it is, it also has the highest possible reward. So once you reach equilibrium with each other between love and respect, thusly, you end up having the ultimate relationship, a relationship such that you have never experienced ever before, folks. And it is true of these types in as much as it is any type. And tonight's types, they are the fifth golden pair according to season 14, which is the ESFJ and the ISFP. ESFJs and ISFPs totally have the hots for each other. And before I continue, folks, remember, viewer discretion is advised, because I kind of can talk about random things like, I don't know, sexual genitalia on like as various sexual acts, and whatnot, because we talk about sex consistently here in season 14, and it is important for you folks to, understand like what it is you're getting into, with these relationships. So anyway, that being said, I think we're just going to let the Elder Wand just kind of, figure out and lead the way for us tonight as we seek to illuminate, you know what I'm saying? I could be all like Lumos, and here you go. And let's get down to it. So let's talk about these two types. How are they similar? How are they different, right? Okay, so let's start with the ESFJ. ESFJ is a starter type just like me. A lot of energy in the beginning of things, and then you kind of peter out at the end, right? Because we are informative, initiating movement. What does informative mean? Informative is all about informing the other people, being abreast of information, providing information to others. And, why is it all the ESFJs in my life, I label them Captain Obvious, except it's kind of more like President Obvious, because Captain is not good enough. Because every time I'm driving by, I see a landmark, oh, look, it's this amazing lake thing. And then they're like, oh, look, it's an amazing lake thing. And I'm like, why did you just parrot everything I said? Because for some reason, ESFJs are like the ultimate parrot type. They just parrot literally everything. And it's like, ugh, it's so weird that they do that. I'm just like, why, guys? Why do you do that? I just said that. It's because their SI parent, their SI parent has to experience everything themselves. It's not good enough for them to SE critic hear what other people are experiencing. They have to experience it themselves first. And then they're like, oh, wow, yeah, there is a really awesome lake thing over there. And it's like, okay, I just said that, but to them it doesn't matter. And then that's why they just end up parroting everything. They want to parrot all of the experiences, do what everyone else is doing, but they don't, it's not really real to them until they've done it for themselves, etc., right? Understand that with them. They're very informative, which means they allow you to choose your role in the conversation, right? It's funny though, because they also expect other people to be informative with them. And this is a little bit different. Typically you want someone who is informative with someone who is direct, right? But not the ESFJ. The ESFJ is a little bit different. In fact, it's the same with the ISFP over here. The ISFP, they are also informative like the ESFJ, and they also want the other person to be informative naturally, right? That's so weird. It's because it's like, I'm going to treat you with the respect to let you choose your role in the conversation, and then you're going to do the same thing for me, right? You know, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's like these two types are like literally living in a covert contract with each other. But you know, that's the thing. Covert contracts work for both these types for some reason, such that they speak in the language of covert contracts, and they're constantly covert contracting each other. And for some reason, these two types find it endearing that they'd even go so far as to covert contract each other. I'm not even kidding, folks. Just watch these two types covert contract. It's like this unspoken thing of, you know, if I scratch your back, you scratch mine, you know, and they have that expectation. They hold themselves and each other to that social expectation. Not only that, folks, they actually do it to everyone else in their life, and it's like super mega annoying. But for some reason, for their relationship, it works out just fine. Not that I would actually really recommend that. I would actually be like, oh, hey guys, how about we don't have covert contracts and just be honest with each other? But no. We can't do that because, you know, we're both informative and we need to beat around the bush. And I really appreciate that she's willing to beat around the bush for me, and I'm going to beat around the bush for her because I just don't want to be like, I don't want to feel bad, and she doesn't want to feel guilty, and I just don't want to be ashamed of treating her that way. So, you know, guys, I'm just going to let it happen, you know. And then she's like, oh yes, I really appreciate that because, you know, he's so respectful and he's so nice. He's just the nicest person I've ever met ever. And it just makes me so happy to support him in anything he does. And, you know, I just feel so wanted by him, and he always gives me a good experience, and he has the most amazing hands I've ever experienced in my life. And those hands are so amazing that he literally built our own home for us with his bare hands. Oh, wow. I never thought I'd find a man like him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like literally how these two types work. It's hilarious to me. Don't expect me to ever build a house for anyone. I mean, and I wouldn't really expect anyone to build me a house either. I mean, that's just not how I go. How about I just actually ask the ISFP to, you know, build the house? You know what's really funny about this relationship? This relationship is literally my sister, because she's an ESFJ and she's married to my brother-in-law who is an ISFP. This is their relationship, and it is so interesting to watch. And you know, she was his first love and vice versa, and then they end up getting married, and she's like, oh yeah, I totally knew within the first 2 weeks of meeting him that I was definitely going to marry him and whatnot. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, that's pretty cool that you're willing to go that far, you know. And she was, and she did, and now they have 2 children. They have like an ISTP little girl and an INTP little boy, and it's kind of interesting how that goes, how they literally have both TI heroes in the house. And it's like thinking to myself, oh yeah, they're in for it now. Holy smokes. Gosh, I can't wait for the day to watch that TE inferior of their father having to contend with 2 TI heroes. Gosh, that's going to be a great experience. Oh man, I hope I'm present for that, and I hope I get to enjoy some really nice buttered up popcorn with salt while it happens. I am so looking forward to that. Yeah. Ah, gosh. Karma. Gotta love it. Anyway, with that being said, so they're both informative. They're both now. One of them is movement, one is control, and the ESFJ is constantly moving, and they have this master process for everything, and they're moving pretty quick. But the ISFP is very control. They go at their own pace, you know. They're kind of like a bear. It's just like, you know, I don't really need to do everything right now. It's kind of like, you know, because everything to me is all about my mood. And then the ESFJ is like, well, I'm going to change your mood so you feel good all the time. And then as a result of feeling good all the time, you always want me because I make you feel so good all the time, because I literally serve you at your every whim, dear sir. And of course, the ISFP is like, yes, I really like that very much. You know, oh, yeah. Come on over here. Yeah, you can sit with me. Yeah. That's what I'm interested in. I want that. And then I will make you very comfortable. Very, very comfortable, woman. You'll see. No problem. And oh, but you think so highly of me? Oh, that makes me feel so grand. You know what I'm saying? So grand, right? So, ESFJ, ISFP, fantastico. And then they are both informative, and then one is initiating, which is the ESFJ, and the ISFP is responding. So, how does this relationship work? Where do they meet, right? Well, ESFJs typically are into traditional roles, and they end up getting into like churches or government or secretaries or typing or data entry, those typical jobs, right? Very loyal people, all about safety, but they just don't know what they want. They never know what they want, right? They're always trying to seek an experience, right? And that's what the ISFP does. The ISFP comes along and it's like, that woman over there, she will be my canvas with which I paint upon, and I paint all these things for her every single day, and she become my muse, right? Because she is the canvas in which he paints upon, figuratively and literally. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so based on that, they end up having a fantastic relationship. The attraction is almost immediate. They can't even help themselves. The ESFJ, looking dressed elegantly, all about, so caring. The ISFP is like, wow, that's like the most caring person I've ever met. Wow, man, holy smokes, and I just want her. I just can't help but wanting her, and I want to do things to her, man. I don't even know what it is. I'm going to write her a song. She inspires me, man. I'm going to write her a big song, yeah. And as I stroke my really big beard, because most ISFPs have really big beards, if you know what I mean, man. And I'm obviously in a garage band in Seattle, man. You know what I'm saying? And of course, the ESFJ woman's like, he's in a band. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? And he says that he's going to build us a house one day. Oh my gosh, it's like a dream come true. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that literally happens. Just like, so you know. Yeah, that's a thing. Like, that really is a thing. So, let's get down to it. Cognitive functions. So we have FE for the ethics with the ESFJ matching up to the FI. Understand something with emotional compatibility. It is all about decision-making functions. These are the decision-making functions. Extroverted feeling, also known as ethics, is always trying to consume or find the source of feeling, the source of humanity, which is the morals of introverted feeling, and then it is consumed by the FE, right? The FE finds the morals, and then all of a sudden the morals are absorbed by the FE's user, and then the FE's user does not feel worthless anymore. They do not feel bad. There is no guilt because the FI user is full of sympathy, right? But then when the FI user is feeling bad, the FE user makes the FI user feel good, feel very good, right? Feel valued, valuable, right? And then they have sympathy for the FE user, and the FE user is like, oh, I'm getting recognition. I'm being recognized for all my contributions, and he really appreciates me for every little thing that I do, right? That's what the ESFJ gets from this relationship. The ESFJ is consistently trying to be appreciated. And all the ESFJ wants is to find somebody who actually values everything they do, even the little things, right? The ESFJ is such that, I actually met an ESFJ recently. I had her in tears. She was actually at the urgent care clinic recently, and I was getting some blood tests ran, and at the urgent care clinic, because I have to get blood tests done every 6 months, just to make sure that I'm okay. And I'm like, I think today's the day, So I go in, I get my blood test done. There's this ESFJ girl there, and she's just having a really bad day, and I'm like, wouldn't it be great if you just had someone that just appreciated every little thing that you did, right? If you strike me as the kind of person that just goes into people's houses sometimes and you just do their dishes for them. Wouldn't it be nice if those people would just actually appreciate you for all those things? Oh, folks, I had her in tears. You know what I'm saying? I literally had her in tears. Oh, she was so cute. Poor girl, having a hard time in her life. But that's how they work, because that FE hero wants to be appreciated, and no one can appreciate FE hero the most other than FI hero, and this is exactly what ISFPs provide as the art. And not only that, their sympathy, their sympathy for their FE hero goes so crazily that ISFP is willing to create amazing art and utilize that person as their muse in some cases to create art specifically for their ESFJ lover, so that their ESFJ is like, oh, wow, you value me enough that you would create art about me or for me and give it to me? Wow. that I inspire you that much that you would actually want to do that? NE child, that you would actually want that? NI child, you actually want me? You actually desire me? You actually see me in your future? You actually are seeking me? So that's the thing. A lot of ESFJs out there, they really struggle. They really struggle with not being sought after. And being sought after is so important. It's everything to them. It is literally everything. Remember that, folks. Remember how important that is. The ESFJ needs to be sought after. And guess what? The ISFP is always seeking after the ESFJ consistently. And this type, though, is really interesting. I've noticed, like, in the latter years of this type, these two types can, you know, the ISFP can get insanely selfish because they have FI hero, and the ESFJ can get insanely giving because they have FE hero. And every now and then, they just have to separate for some reason. Like, this always happens. They stay married. They have a great relationship. It's just like, hey, I'm going to go take a contract. The ESFJ is like, I'm going to go take a contract that's like 6 months, a 6-month contract that's on the other side of the country. You know, and the ISFP's like, okay, sure. And the ISFP's like, great, I have all the time in the world to do whatever I want around at the homestead and take care of the farm or whatever and work on all these amazing projects. And you can go off in La La Land and I'm perfectly fine. I don't have to worry about it. And then you just get to visit. And then we just have sex when you visit and then it's all good. And then you get to go again. Oh, yeah, sign me up. That's a great idea for some reason. You know what I'm saying? And these two types, for some reason, are okay with that. They're perfectly okay with that. It's like almost as if quality time does not exactly really apply to these two types for some reason, except, you know, someone like me. I am a quality timer. Very much so. I need that quality time, right? Well, these two types, well, quality time just for some reason is not really that much of a thing. Not only that, like, sexuality, even though it's important to every relationship, it's not the highest priority for these two types. And I think the reason for that is because their SI and their SE functions and their SI and SE functions, they're actually very, they're pessimistic because their parent functions. It's not as high a priority. But, you know, the ESFJ is also a very traditional person. So bareback is also a definite priority here, if you know what I mean. But, you know, the point is, it's all about the ISFP giving that experience to the ESFJ. It's all about giving them that experience. It's all about painting upon that canvas. It's all about getting a reaction out of the ESFJ. You know, and they do it in this very artistic and systematic way. They have their own little system that they go about, even though they are interest-based, because they are interest-based, and yet the ESFJ is systematic themselves. But that's the fact that the ISFP artist has this systematic process that they follow within the bedroom is a process that matches the ESFJ system of their expectations in the bedroom, right? There's always a system. And then the artiste is very aware of that system. And since they can employ that system within the bedroom to deliver the ultimate artistic experience for their ESFJ, right? It doesn't matter if the ESFJ is a man, for example, and the ISFP is a woman. That woman will definitely ride that man in the way that gives the ultimate experience, if you know what I'm saying. That's literally what happens, right? Because they want to be the artist. They want to give that person the best possible experience in the bedroom. It's all about that. They're not necessarily like them receiving the best experience because you have SI critic, for example. It's not as big of a deal to them, although yes, they like to receive a good experience, you know, in the bedroom. It's not as important as what they are giving to their partner, giving sensations to their partner, etc. And that SI parent loves to receive those sensations. Now, outside of the bedroom, there's also additional significance. The ISFP needs somebody who is diehard loyal to them, because it's like, I'm going to continue to feel good about you and provide you various art, and I'm going to build our house, and I'm going to do all these things for you. You got to stick around. You got to be with me. You got to be loyal to me. Loyalty is everything. Because without loyalty, then guess what? The ISFP doesn't feel safe. And when they don't feel safe, then they lose that willpower. They lose that desire for their ESFJ. If the ESFJ is being disloyal, why or how can the ISFP desire the ESFJ, right? Or look at it this way. something you SPs, especially you SPs with NI child. You all should figure this out, because I am getting very tired of having to coach people through this. It's very annoying. Very annoying. So, for example, how can the ESFJ be loyal to the ISFP if the ISFP is just going to choose on a whim to not want them anymore? Because with how sensual the ISFP is, the ISFP just moves on, oh, that's great. We had a great night the other night, but you know what? I'm already seeing somebody else. Bye-bye. And then the ESFJ is like, really? Really? You don't actually want me? Wow. After all that support that I gave you, after all those things that I've done for you, really? Of course, hashtag covert contract. But you know what I'm saying? It's like these people don't even realize how important covert contracts are. But it is a thing, folks. It is very much a thing. Never forget the covert contract. And the ISFP ends up, for example, going after being sensual. I don't want to be trapped by a committed relationship, so I just got to keep going, and of course, here's the thing, that's more ISTP-ish than it is ISFP, but ISFPs can still do it. Now, if they have a really, really strong moral center with their FI hero, ISFPs are way easier to reach commitment than ISTPs are. Thank God for that. Thank God for the ESFJ, because then the ESFJ can get the benefits of that commitment, right? They really, really need that commitment. So in order to get there, just something to be aware of, just something really, really to be aware of. The ESFJ needs to feel wanted, because without feeling desired or being desirable to their ISFP, their loyalty is going to wane, and then they're going to become loyal to somebody else, and then they're going to move on. So you always got to make sure you have some kind of equilibrium there, folks, especially with this golden pair, because if one is not being desiring and the other is not being loyal, well, it causes this huge problem, and it just causes the relationship to break down. Not something good. Let's go even a little bit further with the inferior functions, where these two types of insecurities exist. They're responsible with their sensing, both of them. They're responsible with their willpower and their desire and the metaphysics, etc. But when it comes to their inferior functions, it is the stuff of joy. It is also the stuff of a lot of sadness that can cause some serious issues with these two types. Why is that? Well, TI inferior. If there's one thing TI inferior needs in this world, it is to be listened to. Of course, all TI users need to be listened to, even if they're wrong. But it is important to the TI user that the TE user in the relationship is always going to be listening to them. The TE user, yeah, they're usually right all the time, and they love to hear that they're right. Fine. But that doesn't mean anything to the TI user if the TI user does not get their day in court. And that's the thing. The ESFJ needs that day in court, needs to be listened to, especially when the ESFJ has been considered by most people to be the dumbest of all the types, like the ESFJ blonde. And the ESFJ blonde woman of the 1950s literally created the whole dumb blonde stereotype, literally because of blonde ESFJ women, because of that TI inferior. And people automatically assume that TI inferior is stupid, when in reality it's not. It just takes longer for TI inferior because it's literally 25 frames a second, versus 100 frames a second for the hero function, for like TI hero versus TI inferior. TI inferior takes a lot longer to think about stuff. But here's the difference, folks. When TI spends so much time thinking and so much effort in thinking because they're afraid, the ESFJ is literally afraid that they're actually wrong about something because of that fear, right? Because of that fear. The ESFJ then is spending so much effort thinking, they're actually more correct about stuff than actual most TI users, right? So when that happens, they especially need that day in court where the TE user is at least willing to listen to them. It's super important. Here's the flip side. ISFP, a little bit different. TE inferior. The TE inferior is really sensitive about its reputation and how other people think of it. It really needs other people, thrives on other people thinking highly of it. Other people need to think highly of me. Other people need to think that I'm a good person so that I can feel good about myself, right? I feel good when my reputation is really high, when my reputation is considered highly by other people. It's a serious thing. It's a serious issue, right? So something to just be aware of, right? TE inferior, extroverted thinking, how other people think. And here's the thing about ESFJs. The ESFJs, their actions, they're so thoughtful actions that the ISFP cannot help but desire the ESFJ, because the ESFJ is so supportive, is so thoughtful towards the ISFP that it causes the ISFP to feel so good and is so valued by the support of the ESFJ, they can't help but just like not desire them. It just creates this burning, desire, passion, and they create this art out of passion for their ESFJ, and that passion comes out in the bedroom, and that's what can happen to the ISFP. It's like this monster takes them over, you know, and the SI parent is just absolutely loving receiving that action, you know, from the ISFP, basically, because for SI parent to actually really feel those sensations, so they need something with absolute power. And if they could just cultivate that desire within their ISFP lover with all of their art and everything that they mean and all their morals, they could turn this amazingly moral person into this ENTJ in the bedroom, into this ENTJ that absolutely takes control and controls the situation and controls, you know, they can get very controlling, you know. SPs like to exert a lot of control on other people to guarantee their freedom, right? And it's no different than ISFPs in the bedroom, because when they take control as the ENTJ, they're commanding the experience in the bedroom, and they lead from the front, and they lead that experience, and they apply absolute power and might and confer it upon their ESFJ lover with everything they got. And it is no different between ISFP women and ESFJ men. You see what I'm saying? Because it's all about giving that experience and using that might and turning it into an artistic experience, something that they can lead with, right? But they're all about leading and leading that bedroom experience, and they take control, and the ESFJ subverts control and submits to the ISFP, right? And that's all they want to do. They just want to submit. And that's what can happen. That is what's offered in this relationship, is that form of submittance. Yeah? Conversely, the INTP likes to engineer and imagine new bedroom situations. It's like, hey, you should try this on me. Hey, you can do this to me. Hey, you could do this. And they're constantly making suggestions to the ISFP, so the ISFP can increase their craft in the bedroom, right? Increase their art. You know what I'm saying? All that art, right? Where the bedroom experience is art. And it's like, hey, you can paint upon my canvas this way. You can paint on my canvas that way. Oh, I'd really like it this way. You know, I feel so appreciated by you because you're doing it this way, etc. And it's just this consistent, you know, tag teaming, right? I want you to control me. It's all from that ENTJ subconscious. That's how it comes out in the bedroom, right? Now, their worry is a little bit different. The ESFJ worries that they are a bad person, worries that they are not worthy enough of the ISFP, because they look at the ISFP and it's like, this person is so worthy. They're a really good person, but I'm not sure I'm a good person. I really need to be around them so that I too can learn how to become a good person, right? And that's what the ESFJ ends up doing as a result. And because their FE hero absorbs the FI hero of the ISFP, the ESFJ becomes a better person. They're able to absorb that person's morals, and it creates higher standards of ethics where they behave ethically, right? And decisions that they wouldn't have made before, they wouldn't have made, like for example, take like abortion, right? If an ESFJ was considering getting an abortion, but the ISFP is like, nope, I don't feel good about that. That is an immoral decision. You will not do that. You cannot do that. I don't want that. Telling that to the ESFJ, and then the ESFJ is like, whoa, you don't want that? So you're actually committed to a future with having this child? You want this child? Okay, I'll be loyal to you. I'll be so loyal to you that I won't go through with that abortion, and then they don't, right? All because the ESFJ is absorbing the desire and the morals, the moral behavior, the feelings of the ISFP. That's literally how it works, folks, right? Because that's what they need. Because, you know, for example, and I've said this so many times, abortion is ethical, but it is immoral, right? Think about it, because immorality is from the perspective of an FI user, right? What is moral, what is immoral? But what is ethical and unethical is from the perspective of an FE user, right? But the FE user will always submit to the FI user, in as much as the TE user will always submit to the TI user, provided they're at the same level or one above, etc., depending on whichever situation, right? It all depends, right? That's kind of how it works. It all depends. But the ESFJ is worried about not being good enough. Well, look at this. The ISFP is worried about not being caring enough. I feel really selfish sometimes, and eventually the ISFP realizes their FI hero that maybe they're being too selfish in a relationship, and then because of that they worry they're not being as caring enough, and they see the ESFJ consistently going out of their way to be as caring as possible to them, and then as a result of being so caring, they're concerned, okay, well, hold on, maybe you know, they're so caring towards me, maybe I'm not being caring enough back, and then it bothers the ISFP. So then the ISFP starts to feel bad, and they're like, okay, I need to do something for my ESFJ to make them feel good, to make them feel valued, to make them feel appreciated for all the good things they do. And then they actually pour themselves into their art. Maybe they create this amazing work of art. Maybe they rent an excavator and create this pond or something that would make the ESFJ feel safer because they have their own source of water, for example. Those kinds of practical gifts. Those kinds of practical things. Because of how giving the ESFJ is to the ISFP over and over and over. Oh, wait, that's exactly what my ex-wife's parents did. Because they too are in an ESFJ, ISFP golden pair. My former father-in-law is an ISFP. My former mother-in-law is an ESFJ, right? That's how it works. That's how their relationship works. And he literally did. He got so worried that he wasn't being caring enough for her. He literally got an excavator and made 2 big ponds so that they would have water, so that she would feel safer, that they would always have water in case, you know, their other source of water dried up. Because guess what? They live out in the middle of nowhere. There's not very much infrastructure. There's not even power lines where they live because it's all 100% solar where they live, for example. And he made her feel safer. And then as a result, she felt loved. That he would go so far as to do that for her, and then she thought highly of him, and then she felt wanted, etc. And then he was able to give her a good experience, if you know what I'm saying, right? And it worked out fantastically. Those little projects, those little improvements, right? And the ISFP utilizes their art to invent practical solutions and solving those problems. That includes building a house. And guess what? My former father-in-law did build her a house. In fact, he built her multiple houses, actually. But his final house, it's an absolute work of art. It's fantastic how it's designed. It's 3 levels. It's got a basement cellar. It's got a regular living area. And then it's got a top level as well with a bridge going across. I mean, that thing is amazing as a house. And it's got a bridge on the outside of it at the 2nd level going into another building entirely. And it's like, wow, where did he come up with this? He actually did it all on paper. He just drew it one day and then he just built this freaking house out of nowhere. And I helped him do the rebar on it and among other things. You know what I'm saying? It is an amazing place to live. And it is a work of art, and it is a symbol or an effigy specifically to his wife, who he loves very, very much. Absolutely adores her. He cannot live without her, and she cannot live without him. The power of the golden pair, ladies and gentlemen. Their critic functions. SE critic forces the ESFJ to dress well, to be proper, to hold other people to a high level of expectation and doing things properly, and propriety. Propriety is everything to SE critic. And you know what? The practicality of the ISFP kind of throws out propriety, but you know what? They have this weird flair about them that the ESFJ just craves, because it's like, wow, they just do whatever they want. They're wearing that tie-dye, or they're wearing those colors, or they're just throwing something together, and somehow they get things done because their hands can just manipulate the earth around me and create this amazing art. Wow, that's definitely what I'm looking for, you know? And they're totally cool with it. You know, or if it's an ISFP woman, how they dress so beautifully. It's this work of art. It's unbelievable. And their ESFJ man is just like constantly turned on by them, and they feel wanted by them because it's like, wow, you're really conveying this really good experience to me on a consistent basis, right? And it's like, wow, unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? Those critic functions. And then there's SI critic. And guess what? The ISFP, they're pretty forgetful. They hold a lot of information with SE parent for their short-term memory, but when it comes out to their long-term memory, they're pretty forgetful. Thank God for SI parent, because SI parent remembers everything that SI critic forgets. And then there's things at work. You know what I'm saying? And the ISFP doesn't have to be bogged down by having such a poor memory and how forgetful they are, because the ESFJ is constantly remembering things and protecting the ISFP from things that they forget. Not only that, NE child also provides warnings to the NI child of the ISFP, such that it's like, hey, if you do this, you don't want to do that, because if you do this, you're going to get screwed. Watch out. And then the ISFP is, oh, yeah, you're right. Because guess what? The ISFP trickster is NE trickster. And NE trickster is not aware of when other people are manipulating them. It's really hard. ISPs really struggle in this area, and the ESFJ exists with their NE child. They are aware when their lover is being manipulated by other people, and they can step in with their SI parent and protect the ISP from danger, from other human beings who are trying to put an angle on them, because other human beings can manipulate ISFPs. And ESFJs are aware of this, so they go in and they protect the ISFP from danger, from damage. It's super important for this golden pair to be able to do that, right? Super important. Without it, there's not much that could be done. Because then the ISP, well, they'll be destroyed. They'll be completely taken advantage of. That's never anything that anyone would want. It's not okay. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. So the SI critic is forgetful. The SE critic is all about making sure other people remember. That's another thing about ESFJs. They so value family with how traditional they are, but they admire the lack of traditional that is with their ISFP, and they allow the ISFP to lead the experience because they have to be traditional with everybody else, but with their ISFP, not so much. But their ISFP actually appreciates the tradition because it's like solid ground on their feet, under their feet. That solid ground that they need actually provides them with a place where they could feel safe, and they springboard off of the ESFJ to that creative freedom. And they want to have that creative freedom, but they're only going to get it with the security provided by the ESFJ. And they really need that security. It's super important because it's the only thing that's consistent in their life, because when they're following the creative process and creating new art, everything is new, and there's a complete lack of consistency. But then the ESFJ is there to always be consistent for them. And they need that. It's super important. They can't live without it, folks. They have to have it, right? And then the demon functions. TE demon and TI demon. TE demon really only comes out if the ESFJ is not being listened to. The inferior function is like, if the inferior function is not taken care of, cognitive orbit sets in, the inferior function starts orbiting the demon function comes out, it's activated, and it is out. And it's like, you think this, you think that. How dare you think this? And then the ESFJ becomes super mega controlling, completely takes all the freedom of choice away from the ISFP. They have no freedom anymore, right? And it's because the ISFP was just blowing them off, not listening to them, not giving them their day in court, right? Not listening. That's one of the biggest issues. Here's the thing. You remember how I talked about how these two types, they may split up, they may separate for years even. And actually in the case of my ex-wife, her parents separated for 10 years, all because the ESFJ, my former mother-in-law, did not feel listened to by the ISFP. And it wasn't until my former father-in-law, the ISFP, started listening to her that she moved back in. Because he did not value her thoughts or her thoughtful behavior, right? This is a consistent issue among these two types. These two types need to value each other. It's super important, folks, because without that, they're not going anywhere. You see what I'm saying? Do you understand the need? It's a big deal, folks. It's a really big deal. Now, the TI demon. Well, the TI demon comes out if the ESFJ goes out of their way to destroy the reputation of the ISFP, or does certain things or certain behaviors that leads to other people outside their relationship thinking less of the ISFP or thinking less of the ISFP's quality of work. The ISFP consistently needs their ESFJ to speak highly of them. They need that words of affirmation consistently towards other people outside their relationship, because without it, they're not really going to be able to go anywhere. They have to have that. Okay? And then TI demon's out, and it's like, fine. You're not listening. I mean, obviously you think so little of me. So you know what? We're just going to do what I think from now on. And then everything starts getting lit on fire. And then that INTP superego comes out. INTP superego's like, well, I think we can do this. I think we can do that. I think we can make this thing and see if you can handle this thing. This little guillotine that I made just for you, right? A TI demon comes out, and it's like, here's the truth. Here's the truth. The truth is this. The truth is this. You can't handle the truth. I mean, that's literally TI demon coming out. You can't handle the truth, little ESFJ, because if I'm the one telling the truth, you won't be able to handle it. It will break you, and I will break you, right? That's INTP demon. Watch out for INTP demon. And the only way to make sure it never comes out is to always think highly and be thoughtful towards the ISFP. Because the ISFP is like, I've been going out of my way to be a good person for you and to make other people know how great of a person you are, and hoping that other people think highly of me, but then you just continue to sabotage me at every single thing you do, so why do I even bother? And then they get super ragey, and then they rage out and like, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good, if I hear, this is no good, and they storm off. All because the ESFJs were not being so caring all of a sudden. Because it's like they forgot to care. It's because it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Maybe it's disloyalty on the ESFJ's part. Or maybe it's because they're not being thoughtful enough. Maybe it's because they were being selfish, right? Or maybe the selfishness of the ISFP was blinding them to that. And they started to believe the wrong thing. Maybe the ESFJ got so caught up in their comfort level with their SI parent that they forgot to verify everything the ISFP was saying, and through that lack of verification, the ISFP started believing the wrong things, and because they believed the wrong things, something bad happened, and then all of a sudden the demon is out. All because the ESFJ got lazy and didn't verify because they were too afraid that they might be wrong. Wow, that's useful. Wow, what a great relationship, guys. Maybe you shouldn't do that, right? You probably shouldn't do that. You want to know why I like to use a knife? You see, guns are too quick. You got to savor it. You know why you want to savor it? Why a knife is so useful? Because it's like a permanent damage, right? And they will always remember that for the rest of their life. And then that means you will always be in their mind every time they look down at that scar, right? And they will know that it was me that put it there. Don't screw with the demon, folks. Don't screw with it, okay? A demon eventually can become an angel, a very powerful angel, but only after a person's subconscious and their unconscious is mastered so that they could begin building towards the superego. Because you can't just jump to the tree of knowledge and good and evil, guys. Maybe you should master these other sides of your mind so you can have the tree of life. Because the tree of knowledge of good and evil becomes the tree of life eventually, right? After, you do the meaningful way instead of the expedient way. Same thing goes with these types. Because let me tell you something. It is not expedient to verify the beliefs of the ISFP. You have to verify ESFJs. It's the only way to protect them. You have to stick to the truth. And just because you're afraid that you may not know the truth, that is no excuse. It is your duty to verify for the sake of your lovers, for the sake of your ISFPs. They need it. It will protect them, and it will keep them desiring you. Okay? If you enable them this way, guess what? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that will literally cause them to want to leave you and to abandon you. And then you won't be able to be loyal to them anymore. And guess what? In as much as you may blame them, it's all your fault. People need to be mindful in their relationships when it comes to self-fulfilling prophecies. Self-fulfilling prophecies are everywhere. I was actually talking to an INTJ earlier today in the CSJ conference that we're having for Patreon Ruby and above. And he said, sometimes, if my ENTP woman doesn't start sharing with me, things that, her intentions, or she's telling me certain things, my mind will automatically fill in the blanks. And I'm like, yeah, but which of those things are true? Well, potentially none of them could be true. I'm like, exactly. But if you fill in the blanks and then you start judging her based on you filling those blanks in, when you could have actually been asking her questions, if you're going so far as to fill in the blanks, you're actually creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that will cause her, after being judged, to not be loyal to you anymore. Do you know why? It's because if I'm going to do the crime, I may as well do the time. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it is no different than this relationship, okay? Listen to the ESFJ. Speak highly of the ISFP. It's the only way to protect this relationship and keep the demons out, because if the demons are kept out, this relationship can remain. And the ISFP will stay desirous towards the ESFJ. The ISFP will want to keep giving that really good experience to the ESFJ. And they will be moral. Because guess what, ESFJs? You want your ISFP to stay moral to you, to be a moral person. You want them to stay a good person. You need to be willing to criticize them and not enable them. If you enable them without criticizing them, oh my gosh, you are turning them into a bad person, and it is all your fault. Take some responsibility for your actions, folks. Take some responsibility. Conversely, the ESFJ will not be caring to the ISFP anymore if they are not being listened to. They will stop caring. ISFPs, you want your ESFJ to stay caring to you? Do you want them to stay so die-hard loyal to you? You better stay wanting. You better keep desiring them, and you better listen to them, because as soon as that happens, they will stop caring and they will withdraw. And luckily, sometimes ESFJs can stay loyal even when you are not listening to them, even though when you're basically being bad and they are looking for someone who is good, but you're being bad because your stupid beliefs are not verified. It can create this downward spiral where both of you are responsible. The only way to protect against that is to communicate, but do it in such a way where the ESFJ is listened to and your reputation as the ISFP is not screwed. And if they are verifying your beliefs, you will still be a moral person. Why? Because your beliefs are attached to your morality. These two functions are attached. And as long as you stay desiring of them, and the ESFJ always feels wanted by you ISFPs, then they will stay loyal to you forever. And you could always rely on them forever. There's no limits to their loyalty. They will follow you over a cliff. When you're being criticized by your ESFJ, listen to them. Don't be a pussy and run away. Listen. You're in a relationship with them, damn it. Pay attention. Okay? I don't care if you feel bad about it. Listen to them. I don't care if you feel they're wrong. Listen. Test what they're saying. Give them their day in court. ESFJs, stop enabling. Be willing to criticize. Okay, I get that you're very caring people, and I get that you're worried that you're a bad person. But if you are not willing to tell your ESFP the truth, you will lose them. Mark my words. You will lose them. And that is not a future they want. You are supposed to be loyal to them, right? Recognize it is your duty and part of your loyalty to criticize your ISFP, and it is for their own good. It is how they grow. Recognize your responsibility, ESFJs. Recognize your responsibility. Don't be like my former in-laws, where they were separated for 10 years. All just because she was enabling and because he wouldn't listen to her. Wow, what a waste. What a complete waste. Thank God they figured it out, and thank God they're still together to this day. Still plugging along, and he's in his 70s now and still making it. Thank God. I'm very, very proud that they were able to figure it out, and very thankful. So, don't learn from their mistakes, folks. Yes, learn from their mistakes. Seriously, learn from their mistakes. Don't do what they did. Listen to the ESFJ. Speak highly of the ISFP. Verify the beliefs of the ISFP. Do not withdraw ISFPs. Listen to them, even if you don't feel it's true. Because just because you feel something isn't true doesn't necessarily mean you're correct. They spend a lot of time thinking about stuff. ESFJs, don't enable them. Stay loyal. ISFPs, stay wanty and be wanting and desirous towards your ESFJ. That way they stay loyal to you, and they'll stay loyal to you forever if you do these things. And if you do these things, the demon won't come out. Best relationship of your life, best family of your life, all because you two were willing to stick it out to the bitter end, because you two listened to each other and you were caring towards one another, and because you were loyal and because you were desirous. Sounds like an amazing life to live to me. A life of quality. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't seek that?